I started off my journey as a psychonaut at the age of 16, 17 by being a student of Terence Mckenna. I was drawn to his description of the psychedelic experience and was moved by his philosophy of exploring the unknown and pushing the envelope of creative expression, and I became enchanted by the values that he was expressing. He has since been one of the top influences in my life. A few years later, I became aware of Jordan Peterson through his appearance on the Joe Rogan Experience. Jordan Peterson stood out to me because he expressed some conservative or classical liberal values while being an advocate for the importance of the psychedelic experience. This caught me off guard because I assumed all people who held conservative opinions universally rejected and opposed psychedelics, and he was the first to challenge that stereotype for me. I became fascinated on his opinions that politics should be understood through the Taoist perspective of yin and yang, and how they should complement each other. He enlightened me on how personality traits predicted political leanings. As someone who was left-wing, it really opened my eyes to why these systems actually exist. As I was content on being a student of these two thinkers, I eventually noticed that others believed that these two minds had opposing views and that you must choose one or the other. The reason that people say this is because Jordan Peterson defends the necessity of dominance hierarchies and explains that traditional culture is the foundation and that the mystics are the force that upgrades the foundation, reforms it. He explains that both forces are necessary and one cannot thrive without the other. The foundation will suffer from the lack of evolution and growth, and the other side will suffer from a lack of grounding, which will have a pathological openness without the foundation, therefore becoming pure chaos. Contrast this with Terence Mckenna's view that we should walk away from culture and dominance hierarchies, and instead focus on pushing humanity and creative expression forward, and stop feeding into the mostly masculine-dominated society which lacks feminine energy. People go as far as to say that Terence Mckenna would have hated Jordan Peterson, but based on Terence Mckenna's character, I would have to disagree that he would be interested in putting up boundaries like that with someone he has important things in common with. After all, Terence Mckenna was about boundary disillusion. Jordan Peterson's message is important because his perspective might contribute to the boundary dissolving between opposing cultures and values. I want to make the case for why Jordan Peterson and Terence Mckenna could complement each other regardless of the differences in opinion. What connects the two is their focus on the transcendental side of reality. Both emphasize the importance of the mystical and transcendental, and seem to reject the notion of physicalism and the nihilism that follows it. Both regard the psychedelic experience as something spiritually significant, and it's something that society must come to terms with and recognize its power of transformation. Terence Mckenna's vision, I believe, is ideal, but at the moment, our society is not enlightened enough as a whole to achieve it, so it stands as a pipe dream. Since we are unable to walk away from dominance hierarchies and cultures peacefully at this time, we have no choice but to live and try to thrive in the system that Jordan Peterson coaches people to be successful in. I would personally love to leave culture behind and maybe start a commune of like-minded individuals who are psychonauts and just want to push the envelope of creative expression. But since that is not an option for me, I must learn to coexist in the culture that we have currently until our evolution as a society makes the dream of Wonderland possible. Terence Mckenna's ideal system sounds a lot like a singularity, and spoke about the omega point of history being complete novelty. I believe the goal is Terence Mckenna's vision, but trying to implement it in our society's current state of evolution might lead to problems. My guess is that as technology improves, we will slowly be moving towards that direction. Terence Mckenna talked about psychedelics working to heal society and adding more feminine, loving energy to our masculine-dominated society. I believe that the masculine and feminine should be balanced as yin and yang, and perhaps Jordan Peterson's message is about debugging the divine masculine to work together with the divine feminine.
So I'm going to read you something. I get a lot of mail, and I don't know where I got this. I've been a lot of different places in the last week, and this showed up at one of them, and I'm going to read it to you. I have no idea what to make of it. It's written in a female hand, so that's about all I can tell, but there's no address or name on it. This isn't a question, but a comment, or more accurately, perhaps, a message. I spent this past weekend in an ayahuasca ceremony, which for those of you who don't know is a South American visionary plant medicine. Some of you may roll your eyes at this, but ayahuasca brings you into direct contact with the archetypal realm of being. Users of this medicine, initiates I should say, refer to ayahuasca as she, because the spirit of the plant is decidedly feminine. An encounter with ayahuasca is an encounter with the great mother of creation, the goddess, the void from which all things come, the feminine counterpart of Logos. Dr. Peterson, you appeared in one of my ayahuasca visions. Might account for why I've been rather fatigued lately. Dr. Peterson, you appeared in one of my ayahuasca visions, and I asked her, who is Jordan Peterson? What is he doing? Which is something I'd really like to know as well. And she responded with crystalline clarity, quote, "Here, he is here to invoke and initiate the divine masculine principle on earth at this time." So I'm up here to thank you deeply and profoundly on behalf of the Great Mother herself, the goddess, the divine feminine principle, who has been eagerly awaiting the awakening of the masculine principle into divinity and service. So, you don't get a letter like that every day. Actually, I get a letter or two like that every day.